Ever wondered how family offices really work? It may sound like all balance sheets, tax code, but the real interesting stuff is the family dynamics, the people, and the emotions behind it. I'm Surabhi Marwah. I'm a partner with EVA India. I co-lead private client services. And today's podcast is all about the real interesting stuff about family offices. Just think about it. In India, family businesses have always been a part of our DNA. What's new, really, is the way wealth is being managed and how and who manage the wealth. From just 45 family offices in 2018 to more than 300 today, we've seen a huge shift. Families are not content with just preserving wealth. They are diversifying, and like how. It's into private credit, private equity, venture capital, and they're writing constitutions, they're making trusts, they're looking at interesting strategies, they're looking at next gen coming in, they're looking at women coming in, women who are very bright and really know how to multitask as well. The recent Indian Family Office Playbook, a joint playbook by Eva and Julius Baer, shows us some fascinating trends, tax laws and cross-border rules that keep everyone on their toes. Governance and succession are a big one, and we also have people really thinking about diversification. Not only that, there's also the whole challenge, the human side, the emotions like that I talked about, the fresh perspectives, the talent that's coming in. And today's podcast is all about discussing some of these aspects, the tax codes, of course, but also about the various ways of investing and the brilliant part of the family diverse dynamics and the people and talent that are coming in. And who better to join me today than Umang Papneja, CEO of Julius Baer India. He has a bird's eye view of all global families and their journeys. He's got decades of experience. He looks very young, but he still has decades of experience into, with family businesses, governance, and legacy planning. We have a very pretty and young lady joining us today, Shagun Baid Jain. She's the co-founder of Baid Tech Ventures, and she's going to talk about her very lived experience with setting up and managing her own family office. Don't go by her young look. She's a warehouse of talent. She's got a lot of experience, and she's going to be talking about two important aspects. One, navigating her own family office, and two, how being a woman, she has really come in, she has proven herself, she has used her education, she has used trust and her own credibility to really make a difference for herself. And she's going to inspire a lot of young women who are watching this podcast how to do this better and how to be, independent financially as well. So Shagun and Umang, thank you for joining us. So Shagun, ladies first, of course. When you were setting up, and you talked about day zero, and I'd like to hear from you, when you were setting up or taking up the role of the family office in charge, what was the most most challenging emotional and practical challenge or fear that you sort of had?
So it's important to recognize how hard your parents have worked to create the wealth and how you are the custodian of wealth for the next generation. Challenges like that were the hardest to tackle, but I had 6 months of headway. It was preparation and anticipation and keeping your head down, working hard, recognizing that there are things that you don't know. It's okay to ask questions and be a perpetual student. Find people you can trust. You have to be okay to say no to opportunities. You do not have to do anything just because of FOMO. Do things only when you understand them. And I cannot emphasize this enough, but have a team of people that you can trust whilst working and building your own skill set to stay ahead of the curve.
And did you sort of put your hand up for the role, or did your parents say one day, okay, Shagun, we think you're ready?
I think my parents were just like, here, go do this. They threw me into the deep end and they said, you have these many months and learn. They saw the rigor that I had put in. They, of course, knew how hard I had worked at our software enterprise. My education, all of that had led to this moment. And it's been the most wonderful and challenging role I've taken so far.
And you told me you interned at EY and you interned at some of the other big four and then worked at McKinsey and you've got a great MBA. So I think the moot point is that you trained for it as well.
Absolutely.
And then that gave your parents.
Absolutely. There's no substitute for hard work.
Yeah.
You have to do every single thing. When I started working at my software enterprise, I started from the very basic functions. I've done cold calling, cold emailing. I have followed people into meetings. And thereon, when I built on that credibility and performance, that's when I got more opportunities.
So you earned it.
I earned it.
That's Umang, a question for you. When we did our playbook, when we were talking and we were interviewing clients, we unanimously got the answer that families are diversifying into new assets, private credit, venture capital. But it's still with a lot of caution. It's not like they're going gung-ho and saying 15, 20, 30% of my allocation. So while something is driving the change, my question to you is what's driving the hesitation and what will it take for that sea change to happen where they say, okay, this is part of it and I'm going to take the risk?
Sure. So let me first delve into history and just go back a few years and then talk about how investment habits and climate have changed. Traditionally, India has been much into real estate and fixed income. Of course, there's always been gold and equities as well, but to a larger proportion, I would say that traditionally Indians have invested more real estate. Still, out of I think around $15 trillion of our savings as a country, around 50% of that is real estate.
Absolutely.
So now, when the AIF regulations came in, now they came in somewhere around 2012, if my memory serves right.
That's great.
And since then, newer ideas, newer asset classes, whether it's private credit, venture capital, private equity, all of that has started to come in. Commitments of around 100 billion so far, in addition to 100 billion commitments, so it's not fully drawn down yet, have been done. So, which I would say is a great start for the first decade of this regulation change. But 100 billion on a 15 trillion, I don't think we've really reached anywhere. I mean, it's
baby steps.
Yeah, it depends on how you see it. But now let's see what's happening now. So, of course, now we've finished like more than a decade of this regime. You're getting track records of the first few funds which came out. Whoever had invested baby steps, as you said, have seen results. Some of them might not have seen good results, but some of them would have seen much better results than what they anticipated. They've learned a lot. Second thing, what probably people went slow or clients went slow would be because of the due diligence complexities. So, for instance, if you're getting into a venture capital company, so you want to get into a better due diligence position on the promoter, for example, or if you're doing late stage private equity, you want to get into a different type of due diligence. So I think the industry or even the investors were not ready for this. So that is significantly changing with a lot of experts coming in. Most importantly, and which will drive the change, is there's an intergenerational transfer of wealth.
Absolutely.
Of more than $1 trillion expected in the next few years in India.
Yeah.
Which I think, because the next generation understands alternates, I mean, that's my view, better than the previous generation.
They're also more risk averse or whatever, or less risk averse. Well, maybe more gutsy, if I can say.
More gutsy. Yeah. And I think that's going to drive the next phase of growth. So if you would say, would this industry keep compounding? I think the answer is yes.
So another question for you. Since there is an absolute change or expected change from the traditional, when you're looking to change strategies or when you talk to your next team, the team below you, what's the kind of change you see in them when they're looking at talking to their clients?
I think just like the clients, the people who started in this industry in the late 90s also do not have an idea. So it was very much important that we had a lot of training and we had a lot of workshops and also give them the exposure which is required. So that I think the industry's done quite well. It's not only Julius Baer, but I think everybody would have done that. I think the newer flock in the industry, I think, understand that quite better. And also we're seeing track records coming out. and also the emergence of new asset classes within the alternate space. So, for instance, traditionally we look at, say, private credit, venture capital, but also the emergence of real assets.
Yeah,
So, for
correct.
instance, infrastructure assets or warehousing or real estate, commercial,
Hmm.
all of that is coming in, and a better understanding is emerging both from the client side as well as our industry of advisors. So I think a lot of work has gone there. There are certifications, there are courses. I think I don't think I would say that the industry is not prepared anymore. I think people do understand this much better than what probably it would have been a decade ago.
And the trigger is one, the gutsy next gen, and also the fact that they're not content anymore. When I talk to a lot of my clients, core manufacturing clients also, that the favorite topic and yesterday's favorite topic was diversification, diversification, and diversification. So I think whether it's in product or whether it's in wealth, I think that has become the new mantra, which is very good for all of us. Shagun, I'm coming back to you and family dynamics. You told me, and Shagun, Umang, this was before you came in. She said, I really enjoyed working with JV because they were the first set of people who didn't tell me, you ask your dad. They said, you know the answers. So, and I said, that's really great. And that's where we want to come to in the journey with many young women like yourselves. But, whatever one may say, family dynamics can be super tricky. And so you need to balance the need for structure and also maintain harmony. So you may have tough calls to take and, calls which may not align with others, but because you're in charge, you have to take calls, but you don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
So how do you think you want to manage that, or how have you managed it?
So when you're working in the family business, you're operationally involved in it and you treat everything as an institution. You go by the governance structures that you put in place. You have to do the same thing with your family office. You have to put a governing policy mandate in place. You have to wear the hat of a CEO whose first interest there is managing the wealth for the next generation. And I think women inherently do a better job at understanding the securities, the insecurities, the financial, the emotional aspect of all family members, and then they put together this mandate that takes care of all of those other things. And drawing on my experience from my family business, I've learned that it's important to have a very flat hierarchy. You have to encourage transparent and open communication. It has to be the norm. And any deviation from that policy mandate needs to be looked at from the lens of the family organization first and then the individual members. Once that is embedded in your DNA, you don't really rock the boat. You keep referring to the governance structure. Things kind of start falling in place there.
So the key thing is get your structure right. Make sure that it's done very transparently and balanced.
Yeah.
And then when you come to difficult or tricky situations, you always have the structure to
Exactly.
go back to, which takes away a lot of the conflict, of human
Ambiguity.
emotions or
Yeah.
ambiguity, and gives you a structure.
Yeah.
And you do that. So
Absolutely.
that's the first thing you
Yes.
did, get the governance and the structure.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good idea.
You have to kind of take the emotions out of investing. You have to make it more disciplined and structured while also preparing for unplanned contingencies. You have to kind of keep that little bit buffer.
Umang, back to you. You've seen different models of family office, and globally, I think they're large number. We don't have the concept of a family office in our tax code, but a lot of countries do. So the structures are laid out. Now, Indian family offices are changing the way they structure themselves. We have a lot of avenues. We have the gift city. We still have people who are setting up family offices in Singapore, in Dubai, in other countries, and then there's the hybrid setup as well. So what are you seeing of late?
So, of course, maybe let's first go into the basic definition. What we're seeing is anybody above $100 million wants to largely go solo. So you can call it single family office.
Yeah.
And I think the ones below 100 million, probably a few families come together, sort of make a multi-family office kind of structure without actually naming it, but like that's a pool together which is doing investments. So that's more from a basic definition point of view. But going into corporate structuring, as you mentioned, of course, So there are LLPs, there are trust structures. Trust, of course, gives you protection of assets, and also the plain vanilla old corporate structure. And with Gift City coming in, the emergence or maybe the requirement of having global allocations that has increased
Yeah.
dramatically. And the Gift City rules do allow around 50% of net worth for corporates and LLPs and partnerships to be sent into
Hmm.
through OPI, which is Overseas Portfolio Investment Route, to Gift City funds. So we're seeing that the families are much aware of the regulations, and based on what they want to do in their constitution, they are creating structures which would facilitate what they want to do as family offices. So that's what we are seeing. And we are also seeing emergence of maybe sharing of information within families, and we're also seeing uh, people looking at, say, for example, say tax consultants or anybody who kind of gives them views, and a few families come together and share costs. So all of that is emerging. But as you mentioned, we've not really come to say something which is defined by the regulator as a family office, which we've heard about. But as of now, it's emerging well. But I'm sure the regulations will define them at some stage.
I'm going to go back to the basics, Umang. Many years ago, we've all been part of, the wealth industry in some form or the other. But this whole concept of family office became very popular just a few years ago. Earlier, people were just, you were managing large amounts of wealth. You were investing large amounts. But then suddenly, a few years ago, family office became the key mantra and a very popular word. Now, I'm going to go back to the basics and ask you, why do you think that happened? Was it something about the West that came in, or was it all of these structures you spoke about?
I think most importantly, and maybe what laid the foundation here, was the huge FDI boom in the 2010s till today.
Hmm.
And people have made a lot of observations on this, that Indians are selling off their business and coming only to do investments, right? Which is partly true, but
Yeah.
India is a land of opportunities and a land of a lot of budding entrepreneurs. So I don't think the entrepreneur spirit ever will kind of die in this country. So it's good that we are putting this money to use. And starting from 2010, we saw a lot of liquidation events.
Hmm.
And those liquidation events, basically, then structure was formed, uh, which is, now we call as family office. And there are a number of families doing this. And as our report mentioned, that the number has gone to 300 and also rising
Yeah.
rapidly. So I think that's basically the turning point which happened somewhere in the early 2010s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying, by the time we come to the next edition of our report, there's probably going to be 100 more, which is already in the offing from what we know. Shagun, why did you set up the family office? As in, you could have invested on your own. I'm just trying to
I think
trying
it
to
gives
understand
that
why.
structure to transfer wealth to the next generation. It's sort of more formulated, it's institutionalized, it's not on an individual's whim and fancy. There's a certain set of guiding rules and principles. You run it like an organization. You don't run it then on the basis of you woke up tomorrow and decided to buy a certain thing. You have done your due diligence before investing into something, and you're more cognizant of the consequences. You work harder when you know it's not just for you, it's for something greater than you. And then you're able to kind of build the right teams, study, and have the right advisors for yourself.
I would like to add
Please.
what Shagun said, and this was, that struck me when I met her for the first time, that it was very clear in her mind, and I would say that for many next generation, that she said that I'm a custodian of this wealth for the next generation. So imagine a 20-year-old girl saying this to you. Look at the kind of vision she has, right? And she's not alone. I mean, a lot of next generation realizes their responsibility.
In your view, what are the things that family offices and family office heads should really be preparing for. And if you think they have a wish list, and I'm going to ask Shagun the same question after this, what would the wish list also be? So, two questions: what are they preparing for?
Sure.
What are they worried about? And what's their wish list?
So, so SEBI's clearly said it, and we've read it in the press that they would like family offices to be under some kind of regulation.
Yeah.
It's still not clear, and I think sooner than later this is coming.
It's in the offing.
It's in the
Yeah.
offing. And very clearly, family offices have to brace for that. I mean, in what format and what fashion it's going to come in, we do not know. But for sure, there will be more requirements of disclosure, more requirements of compliance, etc., for family office setups. I think what best the family office can do, or family offices can do, is to prepare for what's coming for the future. So maybe not have a compliance officer today, but at least outsource their compliance activity today and keep themselves ready for what is coming. Keep international disclosure standards, keep compliance at the helm. All of that, I think, should be used to make yourself ready for whatever's coming, and also maybe follow what happens internationally, etc. That is, I think, the key from what's coming ahead. Now, from a wish list point of view, because there are many things which one can aspire for, but I think the biggest thing which most families are looking for is what I call the QIB status. And just for the uninitiated, I can just tell you what the QIB is. QIBs are largely funds or maybe NBFCs above 500 crore net worth, or maybe sovereigns or insurance companies which allow you access early to deals. So, for example, if an IPO is coming in, you come in as an anchor, etc., which today family offices do not have a say on the table. We've seen in certain pre-IPO issues, and recently we had the listing of a REIT where I think the price was decided largely by high net worth individuals and
Correct.
not institutions. It was the first of its kind this happened. Normally, institutions set the price, but this was a little different. And I think the biggest ask as a community I shouldn't be speaking on behalf of them, but I think the most biggest ask would be the QIB status.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I completely agree with you. And Shagun, from your perspective, what are the regulations that keep you awake at night, and what would be your ask?
I think figuring out about the inheritance. Will the
Inheritance
tax
tax?
come, not
Is
come?
it coming? When is it coming?
Yeah.
What's the form?
What's the best way to prepare for it? Like I said, preparation and anticipation. You have to be on the right side of the law, protect your capital while maximizing returns.
And which is one of the reasons why a lot of people set up family offices as trusts, because world over, and even when we had inheritance tax in the past, before 1985, there was, that was the only way really of planning around it, legal planning. But yeah, we don't know the shape
Yeah.
and form, and every year before the budget, we get a lot of requests for articles or setting up of trusts. But I think in the last year or so, with a lot of public announcement that's
Yeah.
not happening right now, we've seen less of it. But yeah, it's something that keeps people awake at night because there is uncertainty about
Yeah.
it. So,
The best thing you can do is stay on the right side of the law.
yes, absolutely. And just look at whatever opportunities are legally available for planning,
Absolutely.
and then hire consultants like us to plan them for you. Okay, question for you, Umang. A very key question, actually, because as I'm looking to also hire people to work on the consulting side of family offices, I find that talent is always under discussed in family offices, because there's this whole thing about, I'm a family office, I belong to an operating company, and whatever I need will come from the operating company. But you also are cognizant of the fact that you've got to keep that wall in the middle. So, how are families now managing this in house talent, the piece on that? And also, how are you managing the piece on the family office side? Because I think, as you know, family offices are very much a family oriented. So, how are families now managing this in house talent, the piece on that? And also, how are families now managing this in house talent, the piece on that? when to hire someone externally, scale, etc. You talked about a compliance officer. We've seen in the news that there were some large amounts of amounts invested in a family office that went bust. When I saw that, I said I wonder who did the due diligence or the compliance for them, and we should be reaching out to more. So where is that? I mean, what have you seen? Where do you think that balance should come
So when I joined or when I started my career, GDP was all of $400 billion.
in?
If you would have said that 25 years later, is it going to be 4 trillion? I don't think I had the foresight.
Nobody would have imagined.
Yeah.
it.
So we've seen in this last 25 years, 400 billion to 4 trillion.
Hmm.
Of course, it's like an addition of 3.6 trillion if you see an absolute number or 10x GDP, the way you want to see it. So the GDP has grown, but I don't think the talent pool has grown as compared to what it should have.
Hmm.
And not only the consulting industry, but I think even when we look at, say, financial services as a whole, not only wealth management, also in asset management, maybe even banking, I don't think we've really added the right talent to that extent.
Hmm.
So that is clearly a gap. And family offices now, when we come to the question which you asked about, how are family offices managing this? So you can see that if the industry itself has a talent shortage,
How is it?
it's very difficult for families also to get the right talent. But it does not mean that families are not adapting to it. What they've done is, of course, the main principal or the in-house core team
Hmm.
will always be around. And what the families do then is to hire the right external sources. So, for instance, if the family wants to get into private equity due diligence of, say, a transaction which they have on the table, they would have the right private equity experts which they would have kind of tied up with. I mean, the list goes on, say somebody for tax, somebody for legal, so on and so forth. So I think they have struck a right balance of an in-house team plus external experts. And I don't think this is going to change pretty much soon.
As they grow, I think the need for people to help them on deals, on the compliance, on the
Yes.
portfolio side.
Yeah.
I think everything.
I mean, you need to be a very large family office, maybe the number one, number two, or number three family office in the country to attract the talent which you want. But most important, but most families will have in-house core teams with external experts guiding you at the right time. But in addition to that, what we're seeing is the person who's going to be responsible for the family is constantly getting herself or himself upgraded through programs. So either they go through some next generation programs or do family office or family business programs or investment programs. So constantly that upgrade is happening so that the direction of the family office continues the way the family wants it. So that's how I think families are adjusted to this talent.
So I'm going to segue to that question. And you're in charge of the family office. So how are you managing the sort of the balance between doing everything in-house and when to hire outside? And what are you doing, Shagun, yourself to continue to upgrade yourself in that sense?
It is very important to keep studying. There are certain courses that I'm currently enrolled with. I'm a very avid reader. Anyone I meet, I always ask them about a book recommendation. And it is extremely important to find the right set of advisors that you can bounce things off of, that are experts in their that are experts in their own fields. You have to have it be driven on merit. Today, my brother and I run this together. And we take a lot of decisions by talking to each other, by talking to our advisors. And we've also divided industries amongst ourselves because you can't possibly know everything. You have to stay educated, stay humble, and have the right set of people. That's the only way ahead.
And, what set of mistakes have you seen people make? And, how do you think you want to be able to avoid them? Because it's
Yeah,
learning. You talked about learning.
absolutely. I think the biggest mistake that people must avoid is not having that policy mandate, really putting it in a structure, not going by your whims and fancies, but really institutionalizing the process. And don't be afraid to ask questions. It's your wealth you're managing. It's a very sensitive topic. Ask as many questions as you want to ask, and only when you're comfortable with the underlying instrument is when you should take it ahead. And keep working hard, stay humble. It's going to work out. Take every challenge head on. Don't be afraid. Initially, I was quite nervous, but the more you work, the more comfortable you're in your own skin, the easier the journey becomes.
As a woman, as a very young woman, and you would have, it would have been, I think, would have been a challenge, because it is, while there are more women stepping into leadership roles, something is driving the ship.
Yeah.
There is a lot of challenge
Yeah.
on this side. So tell me something positive about what's driving the shift, and what do you think still needs to change?
I think what's driving the shift is now ownership and accountability are going hand in hand. Women are not just on the sidelines anymore. They've always been preservers of wealth. It's just become more formal and institutionalized now. I've said institutionalized so many times over this conversation. I think it's
That's a key
because
word,
it is
right?
very important. I think because they understand the emotional and the financial aspect, and they're able to marry the two to really grow wealth for the next generation. I think that's what's made the biggest difference. And I come from a big place of privilege, and I'm so grateful to it that I've always seen it be this way in my family, right from the generation of my grandparents. And I think having that mindset that it should be merit driven over being gender driven. And when you see the two kids as two successful individuals vis a vis as a boy or a girl, you can really see the talent that they both bring to the table, the special skills that they have, and nurture them, let them grow. They'll actually come back and benefit the family itself. It'll benefit the institution, the organization at large. So, really stay with it, really focus on nurturing the next generation for what the skills they have. Just
Not
stay at
gender
it.
specific.
Yes, just stay at it.
And from a woman perspective, stay at it as well,
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot to prove. But
Absolutely.
you've got the education, you've got the hard work,
Yes.
you're reading, you're keeping yourself updated, you've got control, you've got power. So I think, all those ads you see on Insta, you've got it. um, Umang, I'm going to ask you to, in the last 1 minute of this podcast, I'm going to ask you to play astrologer and take out your tarot cards and tell me, what will the family office of 2035 look like?
Uh, so first thing which comes to my mind is, I think, the global investments as a percentage of portfolio will be significantly higher than what it is today. So you've seen regulations changing,
Absolutely.
which you saw in the August 22 circular. And Gift City, I think, will be a large beneficiary of the whole thing. And they made it quite kind of simple to kind of access Gift City and global investments. We've already have a few managers who are doing that. The process is kind of pretty much now understood by most, and I think it's only going to take off from here. So that is number one. Number two, I think the percentage of alternative investments, as we discussed in the first question, also will rise from here. That's point number two. Third, and no podcast can be complete without mentioning the word AI.
I knew that's coming. Just to ask you.
So we will see a lot of AI in the future, usage of the AI. So let me take my example for instance. So I've been using AI, and mind you, it's in its nascent stages right now. So I used an app recently where I wanted to understand our asset management industry a little better. So I downloaded last few presentations of some listed asset management companies. Also uploaded in the same app the earnings transcript of these companies, and also just gave the links of a few Economic Times articles, etc. And within a few seconds, a 15-minute podcast was made by the just explaining the future of asset management. And there were two AI voices.
But did the AI generated make sense to you?
Huge, hugely. And this is just the start. So I think when now going forward to 2035, I think families will use AI not only for research but also for risk management, for
Compliance.
Compliance,
maybe
big
compliance. I'm not sure whether I'm still in that mind frame to use AI for compliance, but maybe it will. And I think all of this will get blended, and that I think would be the third trend. And then fourth, I think investment management, legacy of the family, philanthropic activities, all of that will get seamlessly intertwined into the family's infrastructure, partly because of regulations which will come in, and partly because as families mature, they'll understand it better. So I think this is my vision of what we see in 2035.
And Shagun, what is your vision of your family office in 2030?
I hope we've been able to preserve wealth well and grow it without taking too much risk. I hope we're able to be a part of some exciting startups, and I hope we're able to carry on the legacy that my grandfather had created by blending in philanthropy with ethically run business.
And a cover page on the Forbes.
Well, I'd be very happy with that. I'd be very happy with that.
No, absolutely. It was great to talk to the.
Thank you for having us.
You talked about things that worry you, things that are mistakes made, how to fix them, and Umang, you ended with the most important AI word, which everyone has to hear. So I think great speaking with you. I hope to meet with you again. And maybe, at that time, we'll have another AI model sitting with me doing all the talking.